Feels like there should be music here. All right. Well, that was weird. It didn't count down right. Anyway, welcome to this episode of Fine is a Four-Letter Word. My guest today is Cathy Spaas. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. And you must be the first English-speaking person who got my name completely right.
Well, maybe that's because I asked you before we started how to pronounce it.
Yeah, but that's fun. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
I am too, especially after our pre-show conversation, and that was just so beautiful. So give me a brief overview of your early life. Like, I want to start with the beliefs and the values and beliefs that were instilled in you when you were growing up.
Well, as a young child, I was fearless, to be honest. You know, I was reckless, I was wild, I was a real tomboy, and I was, the Indian in me, like a real Native American Indian in me. I've always had a lot of connection with Indian tribes and things like that. Was completely present in my early life. And we were having a lot of fun, you know, riding our ponies and playing with cats and dogs and just having a blast. But then growing older, you know, my parents divorced when I was 3.5 years old, which I always thought I was fine with. But then, of course, later in life, you discover that there's safety issues and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, but I thought I was fine. And then I was always really happy to go to my father because he was my big, big hero. And as I grew older, he started to expect more and more of me. You know, I was 10 years old and he would send me to France to people I didn't know. I had seen them once. The daughter was a little bit older than me, but she was not nice or kind at all. It was really hard, and I was there all alone, and I was 10 years old, and every summer I had to go there and later on to different places, which was better. But it was a great experience. You know, at very early age I had to be very independent, and I was learning a lot of things. But I started to be very competitive in horseback riding. We did jumping. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of my first shows, you know, I would not sleep all night because I was so nervous and so excited to, you know, do my show and to jump my pony around. And, you know, you want to do a good job. And so I actually did until that last jump, you know. I was supposed to go straight and I took the jump on the left.
Oh, geez.
Because I thought that was the last one. And instead of having a good laugh and saying, you know what, girl, that was an amazing round, you were clear, let's just, you know, stick with the course next time, blah, blah, blah. No, he said I had to ride a higher class. You know, I think I was 10 or 11 years old at the time. That's still small enough. I did not have that much jumping experience, so I was really scared doing that. So he actually made me scared, and the pressure was already on. You know, it had to be good.
Yeah. First of all, why was he sending you to France to stay with this family that you didn't know? Did you ever find out why?
Yeah, the first reason was so that I would learn to speak French in a good way, because our family is... from that side, they're very well educated, you know, and then they like us. It's posh, you know, if you speak fluently French as well. So that was and he always said, you know, you'll be so grateful later in life. I guess I probably am, and it's been amazing experiences. Who can say that? You know, I was in France on my own when I was 10 years old. And I was not on my own, you know. I had
but I imagine it was very, like you said, it was scary and lonely, and you don't speak the language, and you're with these people you don't know, and all of the stories that you then create in your mind about all kinds of things.
I was too young to do that. Mm-hmm. I didn't do that yet, but I did feel a little bit, left aside, because these people were also very passionate horse people, and their daughter was a very good rider as well, or still is probably. So they were always working, competing, and blah, blah, blah. So I was a little bit, left to the side. I was there.
Yeah.
And they did include me as much as they could. But I'm a wanderer. I love to be on my own. So I would spend my time with the foals in the field, with the dog playing, just going for a walk with the local pony that they had in their, in their barn. And that was okay because there was space, peace, quiet for me. So yeah, I did manage to survive. We did have cool experiences as well, of course.
Okay. So back to the, sorry. I was going to say, going back to the stepping up in horse riding class. And were you able to compete at that level, or what happened?
Yeah. So then afterwards, we moved and everything got more professional, and it was quite hard for me because as a child I was very introverted. I was very outgoing. I'm very extroverted, but when it comes to my deeper emotions, I can be very introverted. And so I did not even know, I wasn't aware about this. My brother was always a lot more sensitive with these things, but our father had changed girlfriends. And he was with this really sweet lady that took great care of us, especially my brother, because, like I said, I was the tomboy. I was out in the stables and with the horses. So, but my brother was, really well taken care of, and she was always soft and sweet and kind, nourishing, And then came this French, I can use the word biatch. She was just, At first, we idolized her because our father was so like, oh, she's this and she's that. And we were like, wow, 10 and 12 years old. I was 12. And then, you idolize her. And then they moved. And then you're at an age that you're changing school. And so there was so much going on that I suffered from quite a severe illness that your bones literally it's not freeze, but they stay stuck.
Oh, wow.
That's a reactional arthritis, so I could not move certain parts of my body. So I was stuck in bed. That was crazy, And I know now, later on, I knew that it was a reactive disease. So it was happening as a reaction on everything that was going on, and that I just could not process myself. Because I did not want to think about those things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting.
So were you not able to ride because of that?
Yeah, for a little while, but we just moved, so things were changing, and it was actually okay, because that way I could settle into the new space, and I did recover quite fast from it. Normally it takes people at least 3 months, and I was a very healthy girl, so it took me 3 weeks when I could start going a little bit outside again. Or then a little after that, I could ride again. And then we did take things to the next level. We started riding shows and competing more. And then we started riding international shows with our ponies. And then, of course, the pressure is on. We had these pony camps with our friends from the show. And then it was really hard work, but also fun. But for example, when they would all go to the swimming pool, I was the one that couldn't go or had to go later because there was another pony coming, a little stallion from people, and I had to ride it at home. And I always enjoyed that, you do feel special when you're doing that. You get this, extra attention. You're missing out, but you're also having a lot of confidence because you're able to do that.
Right. I was going to say, we talk sometimes about making sacrifices to get what you want. So you sacrificed being able to go swimming, but you also got to ride, extra riding time that you enjoyed. So.
Yeah, and I have to say, at this point, I've experienced firsthand that when you have to sacrifice, it's okay to sacrifice things, but until a certain level.
Sure.
At this point, I used to ride professional for a very long time. I did it as a job. I had my own horse stable and everything. But I was working my horses, my top horses, like 5 times a week, always very conscious about their health and making sure, that there was a lot of flexibility in their work, not every day. The same also going out for a hike and training in the woods and, that kind of stuff and lunge work. So there was a lot of different kind of work for them. So I kept my horses really healthy, but I was investing a lot of time, energy, and work and sweat and tears.
Yeah,
into
yeah.
them.
Right.
So at this point, I have 2 babies. And I'm very happy if I can ride 2 or 3 times a week, and even some weeks not, and some weeks 1 time. And I've noticed that these past few weeks, I've been riding 2 times a week, and I've made more progress than I've ever made in the past riding 6 days a week, months.
Wow. There is a lesson. Yeah. There's a lesson in there. In that, I see it, and I see it as a lesson for myself as well as for my listeners, that it doesn't have to be always pushing so hard, that all the time, it's about allowing. And so if 2 times a week you're getting better results than 6 times, then allow yourself to, I don't want to say settle for, but accept that that's okay, that you don't have to put 5 days or 6 days into it. It was pointed out to me recently that I have a belief that struggle is the way to success. And
yes,
you are giving this message right here that is not true. I mean, it's true if you believe it's true, but it doesn't have to be true.
No, and I'm working through that belief every single day because we've been raised that way. We've been raised that way, and with my business as well. I used to work so many hours and serving so many clients, but now I'm at a point where, I'm exclusive. I'm not for everyone. I don't want to work with everyone. I don't want to serve everyone. I want to work with the people that bring me the most joy, and I will choose them.
Yeah.
And that just changed my entire career, but also bliss, joy in what I do. Because I'll be very frank with you, when I have to coach 10 clients one-on-one at the same time, I'm bored. I'm bored. I don't care anymore. And that's very harsh to say, but that's the God honest truth, I'm just bored. And I want to do things that bring me joy, because I know that when I organize my life in that way, I'm the best coach I can be for my clients.
Yeah.
So that's why I'll only take max 3 clients at the same time at this point, so that it's fun for everyone.
Yeah. So stepping back, at what point did you get to the place where you're like, yeah, everything's fine, but it's not fine?
Well, I did share with you in advance that I had the burnout.
Yeah.
And prior to my burnout, I'd been doing so much inner work, spiritual classes, personal development classes, since I was 19. So that must have been like 12 years prior to my burnout that I was doing so much and trying. I was trying so hard to improve my life and to feel more happy in my own skin and comfortable and to find that little girl that was so fearless again. And I just couldn't. I was always disappointed in myself, and of course disappointed in the people around me, because that's, beautiful mirror effect.
Yes.
And so when I got stuck in that burnout, I realized that, there's a different way. Because I always tried so many things. I did Reiki, I did healings, I did acupuncture, not acupuncture, but with the feet. I did past life regressions. I've tried everything. Everything.
Yeah.
And I've always noticed that it's temporary because it's external. You know, it has to come from the inside out. I have to change things. And I got all these tools from all these courses and classes, and I could not get them integrated in my daily life, in my routines. And it's when I got stuck in that burnout, when I hit my rock bottom, and I thought, you know what? I'm worthless. You know, I can't do anything right because due to the bullying at work, I got to a point where I started to believe that I'm no good. I'm no good.
So you were doing all of this work and this inner work, and at the same time, that's when you were getting bullied at work.
Well, I did the inner work for 12 years, and then somewhere after that, probably, I was not doing a specific course at that time. I was getting my bachelor degree because I started doing my horses straight after school. Yeah. So I was getting my bachelor degree in my 30s, in my early 30s, because I'm still in my 30s. So, and that's just when I realized, you know what, knowledge is beautiful, but if you're not using it, if you're not putting it to work, it's useless.
Absolutely.
Even worse, it's making you feel like shit because you know what you have to do and you're not doing it, so you're, tearing yourself apart because you're such a bad person and blah.
Right. Yeah, I have these kind of conversations with clients all the time about feeling guilty and talking about when we talk about gratitude and meditation, and when I'm working with my clients, and that whole idea of having a gratitude journal that becomes another thing on your to-do list, and you're like, I got to do that today, and that's not useful.
No, it's not. And that's why I love doing the work that I do, because you and I, we take people by the hand and we do it together, and we help them, we support them becoming the version that they want to become. It's so different because I've been to therapists, I've been to psychologists even as a child, because I went through all those things, and that's not even the worst part of things that happen. So there was a lot of damaging done in my early teens and stuff. So I know how a therapist or a psychologist works. And what you do is you focus on the negative, what isn't going well for you in life.
And the past, right? The past and the negative.
The past and the negative, tell me what's going on, what isn't working for you. So you'll spend your hour telling, this isn't going right. And sometimes when you've got a really good one, you'll get some tips and a tool. I was lucky when I was in my burnout, I got a good one. And she gave me one exercise and some good mindset talks that helped me move forward. So I'm grateful for that. Yeah. And the psychologist helped me find myself internally. I didn't know how to listen to myself. I did not know how to express emotions. I did not even know I had emotions. I was just such an unaware child, and I did not want to feel those emotions.
Right. Because that's painful, and we don't necessarily want to feel pain because it doesn't feel good. So we just distract ourselves or brush them under or pretend we don't have them, and then they come out somewhere. Yeah.
Or you get, an illness like I did.
Yeah, right. So I was just going to ask you, how did it come out for you?
Yeah, they came out through setting my bones.
Oh, right. That. I thought maybe there was something else after that. Okay. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I started rebelling in my teens and doing all sorts of numbing of the brain. Yeah. I've had so many addictions. I was in the hospital twice when I was 15 to pump my stomach from drinking too much. But I'm really sensitive to those substances. So, it's also not as dramatic as it sounds, but it also is. So I started using those substances, and like marijuana and sugar and sex and all these things that help you numb and make you feel a little bit more bliss.
Yeah.
Fake bliss.
Yeah.
It's still temporary.
Right. And so was it the psychologists that you went to who helped you feel those emotions? Like when?
No.
At what point did you get to the point where you were like, okay, I recognize now that emotions are part of being human, and feeling them and expressing them is the healthier way to go?
Well, I think that the first awareness was with the psychologist, to just learn how to talk about it, and to see what's going on. That's the first step, and I'm so grateful that at a younger age I was able to learn that, because who knows, what else with my body would have been going on. But it's also my mom. She gives spiritual classes, and she was always very aware about these things, and always gave so many beautiful tips. But then, I felt like a bad child or a bad person because I did not know how to implement them. Because I followed a lot of her classes. Sure. And I said, no, I followed them all actually. But then, you got the tools. That, grounding yourself or meditating or doing a yoga exercise or whatever, cleaning your chakras, I don't care what it is that works for you. It all works if you use it.
If you use
but then I noticed, because I was always the young one, and then you see all these women in their relationships. And what I thought was interesting is that you saw them and we were all in this state of pure bliss. You're there, you're with each other, the energy is so high and beautiful, and you get in this zone and the state of, this is it, this is so pure, and this is how I want to feel. And then you drive home and you still feel amazing, and then you open the door and your partner says one word and blah. It's like it's completely vanished. And what I learned there, and I also was only able to put the meaning to it afterwards when I went through my own transformation. But what I discovered is that those ladies and myself, because I experienced the exact same thing, they started to feel a discrepancy between themselves and their partner. Because, there was a gap between them, because they were so aware and their partners were not. So they felt the distance. But the big change and the big difference is once you own your transformation and you start living this work, and you start being the person who does a few minutes of meditation in the morning, and who does a little bit of conscious breathing during lunch, and who's grounding whenever she takes the steps, or whatever, is your mojo. Once you start living it, your energy starts to change, and your environment will resonate with that.
Yeah.
And they will grow with you, alongside you, without you having to do anything. So it's by living it that they will, follow you.
Yeah, I had a podcast guest on in the season 1, Trista Polo, talked about that's exactly what she did. She started working on herself. Her marriage was not great. She started working on herself, and she wasn't asking him to do anything, and everything changed because she changed.
Yeah. And that's what I experienced with my father, for example, because we've had for 20, I used to be his little angel and his princess and everything, and I saw him as a god. But then when I was 14 years old, I went from the ponies to the horses, and my brother started riding the ponies that were now, really ready and doing international shows. So he was at that level at that point, and I was learning again with the horses. We were, there was a lot of preparation, but you could see that there was a growth process for me again, and that I was losing myself a little bit. And then my father completely, dropped me. Like, I had to go to the shows alone.
Oh my
and
gosh.
There was no more support, and my brother got lessons from the most amazing teachers, and I could not join in. I needed it more than him, but he was at an amazing level, and he did European championships, and I was always there to support him, love him to death, So proud of him as a person, as a rider, as what he's doing right now in life. But you could see that, I was being put aside, and there was no more space for me. And that, as a child, really hurts.
I can only
because
imagine.
then you feel like, I'm not good enough, So from that moment on, I started rebelling, and it got even worse. And the 20 years after that were hell between me and my father. Just pure hell. It's been struggle. And so after my transformation, it's like you described so beautifully. You don't have to expect anything from someone else, but when you change, they'll show up differently.
Yes.
And our relationship, the past already 4 to 5 years, our relationship has been gold again.
Wow.
Pure gold.
That's amazing.
I did not expect that to even happen anymore for us. But it's only because I showed up differently that he was able to do the same.
Yeah. I want to touch on briefly what you talk about, what you specialize in, what we talked about before the show about your being a highly sensitive person and how you came into understanding and accepting that, and why that's who you work with now.
Yeah, that's interesting, because at the job of the bullying, there was someone who just mentioned the term highly sensitive person, and it instantly triggered me, and I thought, you know what, I'm looking that shit up. So my dear friend Google told me all about it. And then I started to think, oh my God, that's what's up, that's what's been going on. And it interested me so much. And then I had this experience of personal development to the highest level with that burnout, and me reinventing myself and putting all the things that I had learned in the past to work and actually implement it and live it, because I discovered these new strategies to really start using them and becoming the person. And so I followed a course to become a coach, or an entire education on it. And I thought, you know what, I want to be specific. I want to help people like me who feel lost, who feel insecure, who feel misunderstood. I've often felt like an alien on earth, not because I didn't have enough friends, because I've always been surrounded with a lot of loving people, but I just always felt like I didn't belong.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people too. Like, regardless of whether they're highly sensitive or not, it's so interesting how many of us humans feel like we don't belong.
Yeah. And so I started to tune in more into the, working with highly sensitive people as an expert and following those classes. And I've worked with the, most renowned researchers in Belgium and Holland, or the Netherlands, on the topic. And then I discovered, highly gifted, and I found out that I was myself as well, or am. And so many things got clearer and clearer. And the more I got to learn about these qualities, the more I knew, like, this is exactly what I have to do. And then I started working with highly sensitive people. And after coaching like circa 100 people, I knew, like, what I'm doing, it really works. They're all so happy. They're all so grateful. I still get messages from clients from 5 years ago. So it's so amazing. But then I started seeing these documentaries on TV. And I started watching like Avicii, who, the DJ, so gifted DJ,
Yes.
who just didn't find his place and didn't know how to cope with all the pressure as an artist. And I started watching all these documentaries. And I started seeing that there was a big misconception of artists being, what's the word? Bipolar. You know, experiencing heights and lows very often. But what I learned from working with all these experts in high sensitivity is that we can feel those emotions as well because of the overstimulation and everything that goes on inside of ourselves. We have a deeper way of processing information, and our right hemisphere is stronger activated. That means a lot of creativity, thinking in solutions, such a strong empathy, more activated mirror neurons, so you can really feel what someone else is feeling or showing. So these are all qualities that artists need to have to be good at what they do.
Right.
You know, and so that's how I discovered that, like, I think around 85% of all artists is highly sensitive. And a lot of them highly gifted as well, and highly giftedness is also a little bit attached to being highly sensitive because we also have the deeper way of processing information. So that's why I started to notice, like, oh my God, these people, they don't even know why they're feeling that way. And they're feeling so lost and insecure, and people are making them think that it's bad to feel like that. And I know what it's like because I had everything to be happy and I just couldn't. I didn't know how to fully own my, you know, my luck, my shine, my everything.
So I didn't know how to step into your superpower.
Exactly. And we have so many being highly sensitive. We have so many beautiful powers, and yet I got stuck in the struggles, the challenges that come along with it. And that's the problem. Once you're stuck in there, you know, you can still use your gifts that come along with it, but it's harder to enjoy them and to really use the full potential that's present.
To see them as gifts as opposed to, I don't want to say maybe disabilities or drawbacks or things that were wrong with you.
Yeah, and it can really hold us back at times, for sure.
Yeah.
But there's so many. I keep doing these little reels on Instagram on why HSP are like X-Men, because we're simply more evolved. Sometimes you just gotta own it.
All right, I gotcha. Let me ask you your next question then. On that note, when one of the X-Men, specifically you, wants to feel an even greater boost of energy, what is the song that you listen to get, like, what's your hype song?
My hype song is Because of You by Neo. Because it's all because of you. And that's me.
Yeah.
You know, he's singing to me.
Right.
So, yeah, he takes me, he moves me with his music. And I'm not the person who's a super fan of anything. I don't have a favorite movie. I don't have a favorite artist. I don't have a favorite song. I would not know where to begin. But Neo does something to me. He knows. I think I would love one day to have a chat with him, because it's not possible that guy is not highly sensitive. I just, you know, I'll put my hand into the fire I'm sure of it, because his lyrics and the way the music is composed, it goes like into my fibers, into my cells. You know, my entire body can feel it. It's so powerful. So, yeah.
All right, so we're putting that out into the universe that you would like to meet Neo.
Love that.
We'll go with that. If people want to continue this conversation with you, what's the best way for them to reach you or find you?
Well, of course, on all social media, just my name, Cathy Spaas with a C. And then, you know, you can send me a DM. I always love to have a chat and see what's going on and who you are and get to know others, like-minded spirits. And otherwise, my website, CathySpaasAcademy.com. you can find more about being highly sensitive. You can find a ton of interviews with celebrities I did on the topic and on mental health and mindset. And articles that were launched on different mindset topics. So there's a lot of content that you can go through and really get inspired there as well.
Excellent.
And you can book a conversation with me.
Okay, fabulous. Well, I will put links to that in the show notes so people can easily find it. Thank you so much for joining me today, Cathy, on Fine is a 4-letter word.
Thank you for having me. I've had so much fun with you, Lori.
Excellent.